Bo-Katan versus Cara Dune. Who will Mando rely on more?
This is actually when I first read Daryl's outline on this thing, I was really intrigued by it because this is one of those things that I really think is going to become a very important question as the
Yep,
season progresses.
I agree.
And it's interesting because first of all, I wonder what they're going to do with her character because, and I'm talking about Cara Dune here,
Okay.
because I just realized I'm like, oh wait, they're both women.
Who am I talking about? Let's see.
Right. Which one? You have to guess. But I mean, it's one of those things where, okay, they set her up in the first season, and obviously she's bound to make it. I mean, we saw her in the trailer, right? So she's going to appear in the second season. But the thing is she going to be like one of those? They're going to kill her off at a certain point because she serves a purpose in the journey of the Mandalorian, or is she going to be kind of like, one of his right-hand people?
Right.
And then you have Bo-Katan, who obviously she could actually, she could be more of a mentor to him. Because, as we saw, you did see her appearance in the last episode, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I was like, wait, how much am I don't want to ruin everything for you. But again, spoiler alert to those of you who haven't seen last week's Mandalorian. But come on, guys, it's been a week. If you haven't seen it, really, exactly. I mean, I can understand today, but last week, y'all have no excuse. So Bo-Katan came back, and already we find out that, Din's been basically following this, what was it, Children of the Watch or something like that. They're kind of like a zealous group, and that's why they don't remove their helmets and all that stuff, because that was one of the first things. And again, when we do the whole review, I'll get into this more, but one of the things that I thought was interesting was I'd always wondered why back in, when we were watching Rebels and all this stuff, Mandalorians are taking off their helmets right and left,
Yep. That was another big debated thing in the fandom, It's like, why are they saying that they can't take their helmets off? They do it all the time in Clone Wars and Rebels. What's the deal with that? What's going on here? So I think that went a long way to answer that question.
Yeah, but here's the thing that I thought was interesting, which, first of all, I think that was a great thing that they did. I thought that was a really good story move. I assumed that maybe it was after the Great Purge and the Empire basically were hunting them, that maybe it was like, okay, they can't remove it because of that, because they're kind of more underground and maybe they, change some of their ways or whatever.
Well, but if you think about that, the helmet is one of the most recognizable parts of their armor.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So
you do make a good point.
If you don't remove their helmets, then it's like you can't go incognito. Oh, that's a Mandalorian over there. Oh, that's a Mandalorian over there. So that's I don't know. I kind of thought that as well, that maybe that's why, but
oh, you're right. It doesn't really make a lot of sense, but I mean, it does until you really think about it.
Yeah. I do like the explanation that they gave us that, Din is a part of this basically religious fanatic group that is going back to the old ways. They want, even before the Clone Wars, that was the belief, I guess, or so, the show is saying now, that way back when Mandalorians didn't remove their helmets. So
right.
That I appreciated that explanation. That made sense to me. So,
well, and Ronaldo says, first of all, Katie Sackhoff was perfect. Well, I mean, the nice thing, and this is another thing that we should probably get out of the way now before we get too deep into this discussion, is that she was the voice of Bo-Katan on the Clone Wars.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
Which I thought was really cool that they actually got the voice actress to be the character.
Yep.
What'd you think of the look?
The look was pretty good. I mean, that They had to obviously. I don't think Katie's a redhead, but it seemed like they had to put a wig on her. But yeah, I mean, I think they got it
I do too, man. I
pretty
think that
well.
they nailed the look.
Yep, especially the helmets, the decorations on the helmets, like the
Absolutely.
yeah.
Which is so
Mhm.
funny because they just whip off the helmets, and all this. Ronaldo says, second, I think Din Djarin will trust Cara Dune more. I think the relationship between Din and Bo-Katan needs to develop a bit more.
Yeah,
That's,
so we didn't really pick sides yet,
I
and
know.
Ronaldo picked his side. So where do you stand?
I'm, okay. First of all, we got to set a ground rule. This is how I am. I
Uh-huh.
do this all the time. I mean, Daryl just wants me to answer a question, and I always got to, wait a minute, we got to. So I'm going to do this to you too.
Okay.
So we have to decide, is it what we think is going to happen or what we want to happen?
What we think is going to happen.
Okay, what we think is going to happen.
Yes.
I'm going with Bo-Katan.
Bo-Katan?
Yeah.
Okay.
The reason why, because I do agree with Ronaldo in the sense of that they do have to develop their relationship a bit more. Because remember, it's a bit adversarial.
Yes, right.
And she kind of tricked them into going on that mission. I mean, it's not starting out well. But here's the thing, and this is why I think that ultimately he's going to trust her more. Because he is looking for a connection to his kind. I mean, he's a foundling, so he's not really a true Mandalorian, but he has adopted that way of life, right? This is the way. So Bo-Katan and her minions or partners or whatever, I think represent what he's looking for. And as much as Cara Dune is definitely a trusted ally of his, and I think that it's going to be that way for a while. I think eventually he's going to look at Bo-Katan more as a mentor. She is the rightful ruler of Mandalore. I think he's going to start to gravitate. But I have to say, it's tough. It really is tough.
So from here, I'm going to say Cara Dune.
Yes. See, we fight.
No, I'm going to say Cara Dune because for a couple of reasons. First of all, they have fought side by side. They actually fought each other first, and then they fought side by side. So right there's like a warrior's trust almost. And Cara has never asked Din to take off his helmet, as far as I can remember. And Bo-Katan was like, "Hey, take off your helmet. What are you doing?" And he's like, "Whoa, no, I don't do this." And Bo-Katan actually kind of made fun of that in a way, and saying, "Oh, this is the way," because she knows how they are. And so I think that created a little seed of doubt with Din. And I think that he's going to gravitate more toward Cara to be that trusted ally first. Maybe the relationship builds later with Bo-Katan as the season goes on. I don't know. I don't see it really happening too much, just because Bo-Katan is really focused on getting the Darksaber, and that's what she's after. Who knows? Din might try to overthrow her and take the Darksaber for himself. I don't know. Would he do that being a foundling and not a true Mandalorian? I don't know. But I do think that that he's going to trust Cara more than Bo-Katan.
Yeah, I mean, and it's one of those 6 and 1, half dozen the other kind of things, because you could
Sure.
Right now we are still. I mean, we're essentially. What's funny is I think this is going 8 episodes, right?
Yeah,
Kind of like
as
the
far as
last
I know.
one.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, so today episode 4 dropped, so we're basically halfway through this season. So I can't really say that it's too early in the season, but I will say that you you and Ronaldo are probably right in the sense of what I'm saying probably would happen in like a season 3.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that that's where I'm looking at it, because right now they're planning on making 5 seasons. They threw that number out there. I don't know if that's really what they're trying to do, but they threw it out there. They said, well, maybe 5 seasons. So it's like, okay, fine.
Mm.
So I'm looking at the long game. I'm looking at what will eventually happen.
Okay.
But at the same time, I can't. In fact, I agree with everything you're saying. It's not so much that it's too early in the season. I think it is too early in the series. And
the series, right? There you go.
And Ronaldo just pointed out too that, they just met.
Yep.
So it could go either way. Ronaldo basically says, by the way, how sad to know that all your life you were a member of a religious cult and you didn't know it. Poor Mando.
Right?
Yeah, exactly. That is the thing that I found the funniest was when he almost pulled a thing that he did on Cobb Vanth, where it's like, oh, you're not real Mandalorians, and he drew on them, and they're like, no, he's one of those.
Yeah, right.
Totally turned it around on him. It's like, okay, you foundling cannot tell the once ruler of Mandalore that she's not a real Mandalorian. Right. Just saying. And it's really funny because when you take into account like all the history from the Clone Wars and stuff like that, it's like for him to even say anything to her is laughable. Now, here's the thing, because we did find out that Sasha Banks was not playing Sabine like what a lot of people theorized. Yep. Do you think we're going to see Sabine in season 2 or at all during the series?
That's a good question, because so my head immediately goes to the trail of the Darksaber, like where that is or where that went. So at the end of Rebels, where was it? Was it with who was it with? It wasn't with Sabine, right?
Okay, so Bo-Katan had it. I think she gave it to Sabine, but I think Maul stole it from her, because there's been a fan theory out there that I think was mildly confirmed. I almost forgot the word. I'm like, something. What is it? Okay. So it was mildly confirmed by Lucasfilm that it's somehow like Obi-Wan got it from Maul, and then Luke ended up getting it from Obi-Wan. So, because a lot of people were thinking that it was going to end up where Luke was eventually going to make a cameo in The Mandalorian.
Oh.
I don't know. I know for certain, though, that Maul at one point had it. But yeah, I don't remember where it ended up.
Yeah, I thought it ended up with somebody in the Mandalorian clan somewhere, but not necessarily Sabine. And that's kind of where my head was going. If it was not with Sabine, then I don't think Sabine is going to be. I don't think we're going to see Sabine in the Mandalorian at all, because she probably went off, did something else, or did something foolish and got killed. I don't know. But I really don't think that we're going to see her. I would be happy to be wrong, though. But yeah. I don't think we're going to see it.
It's like there's two schools of thought on this one, too, because on one hand, I do like where you're going with this, where it's kind of like a follow the Darksaber. And you can at least... I don't really know how much of, let's just say they go 5 seasons. I don't know how much of the 5 seasons is going to be all about the Darksaber. Mm-hmm. They might wrap this up this season, and then season 3 starts a new arc.
Sure.
I can tell you, no spoilers, but you will want to see this episode 4, because it does give you... I'll put it like this. It gives you a better sense of where the story is going.
I see.
So I say that because I think that there is a possibility that the season 1 story arc that we're continuing to season 2 may be wrapped up at the end of this season.
Okay.
And I have a feeling that if they're doing a season 3, I'm not saying that it won't continue some of the things of season 2, but I think that it's going to be like a new, like a new adventure kind of thing.
All right.
Because one of the things I actually like about The Mandalorian is you have like a story arc that does go across the seasons.
Mm-hmm.
But yet it's very much an episodic story-based thing. It's...
Right.
I mean, it's kind of like they do have these little one-off adventures. Ronaldo says at the end of Rebels, Sabine gave the Darksaber to Bo-Katan to become the leader of Mandalore. Gideon probably stole it at some point. Well, I do think it's interesting that Bo-Katan seems to know who Gideon is.
Mm-hmm.
Because we don't know who Gideon really is.
Yeah, exactly.
He's a Moff. Because my whole thing was like, you would think that given his power, the fact that he has a Darksaber, I don't know if you watched the episode that Daryl and I did where we were starting to wonder things like, well, wait a minute. What was he doing when Vader and the Emperor are around? Because if he has a Darksaber, is Vader and those guys really going to let him have that?
Right. No, I remember that conversation. Yeah.
You remember that conversation? Yeah. So it's kind of like, okay, man. I mean, look, this guy, he has to have somehow acquired this after the fall of the Empire, because remember, this takes place like 5 or 6 years after Return of the Jedi.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm thinking, why is he only a Moff? Why not a Grand Moff?
Right.
That doesn't make sense to me.
There was only one Grand Moff, right? That was Tarkin. Unless they instituted more after, because I don't think there were any other Grand Moffs, to be honest.
Yeah, I have to look that up.
Yeah. It would make sense though that after after Tarkin there would be someone else who was promoted there, and why are we just now finding out about Gideon? Was he off doing something else when the Empire was getting completely destroyed by the Rebel Alliance?
Well, you basically have... You know what this is? This is the Thrawn problem all over again.
Right.
Because you see somebody like Grand Admiral Thrawn, and you're like, okay, what's this guy doing during the original trilogy?
Right.
I mean, come on.
Where was he?
Yeah, and same thing with Ahsoka and all them. Now, we're getting a little bit more of the picture of Ahsoka, which, by the way, I firmly believe that the next episode is where we're finally going to see Ahsoka.
Okay, I didn't figure where we were going to see Ahsoka in this one that just came out today anyway. So, but you kind of spoiled that for me. But anyway, I already thought that
because I knew that you already knew that. I knew that. That's why I knew that it wasn't giving anything away.
All right.
Besides, how do you know? How do you know we haven't seen her? How do you know I'm not just using misdirection?
Oh, well, you could be, and yeah, but I'll find out for myself. But that was my thought anyways, because I was talking with a friend from work, and he was like, hey, do you think we're going to see Ahsoka in the next episode? And I said, no. Just flat out no.
Well, and here's the thing. Just in case anybody's wondering why I'm going there, it's because Dave Filoni is directing episode 5.
Yeah.
And I believe that's the only... Yep. Yeah, I think we actually brought that up on this Monday show that we did.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And it's like, look, he's going to be the one to introduce Ahsoka in live action. That's simple.
Yep.
But that said, because one of the things I was thinking of doing, and it's almost going back to the holiday special thing again, but I think that what we should do is actually do a thing where me, you, and Daryl actually watch the thing together live.
Oh, wow. Okay.
On a show. Because we could do it. I have the technology.
Nice.
It's basically like a reaction video.
There you go.
That will be, I guarantee that's going to break 1,000 views. If we do that. And if we're actually reasonably entertaining. I mean, that's the other thing too. We gotta,
Right, we could.
we can't suck as bad as a holiday special. Exactly.
The original holiday special.
The
just to be
original
clear.
holiday special. Yes, let's be clear. We already said that the new one's good. So I mean that one's cool. You guys are safe. You have clearance. You have clearance to basically do it. Ronaldo, I didn't see this one yet. Okay. If I'm not mistaken, Din Djarin said that Gideon was purge of Mandalore, and Bo-Katan said she fought in that purge. They probably met there. Okay, so Ronaldo seems to think that Bo-Katan basically met or probably battled Gideon through the purge. He also says, without saying any spoilers, I think this episode is the most important we've seen.
Ooh, I'm intrigued.
You're probably like, if one of you guys spoils this for me.
No spoilers. No spoilers.
Like, all I'm asking is that you guys don't spoil this for me.
Ruin this for me. The Mandalorian on Friday nights is all I have.
Oh, that would be the hilarious thing. It's like if all of a sudden we started getting all these chats with all these details and stuff.
I'll close my eyes. I won't read them.
Yeah, exactly. You'd have to. It'd be like, well, Ronaldo says, I'm not telling something about the Mandalorian, right?
All of the viewing audience, take a look at what Ronaldo says about the Mandalorian episode that you may not have seen yet.
See, that's when we would have to just break down and just do a reaction to it right now. It's like, all right, throwing it up.
Right.
Let's do a reaction video. I was actually surprised that I didn't get flagged for that because on there was this one episode where I actually brought my laptop in wirelessly into the system. And so I'm like, oh, sweet, I could do this now. So I started playing like clips on the fly from the season premiere. And I thought about it later. I'm like, I wonder if I'm going to get flagged for this because YouTube is getting really crazy about copyright stuff.
I can imagine.
So I mean, nobody I think cares about the holiday special, so I think we're good. But, I mean, I think it is worth it though to mention that, just in case like it's overdubbed with some weird music track or something that, we put that out there now. But that should be fun. We should do that. Like the three of us should actually get together live and watch the thing and react to it. And I mean, at least we'll have each other to talk to when they're speaking their Wookiee language. And this was a dangerous segment to do considering you haven't seen today's episode. But I think we're able to get around it okay with no spoilers. I think we're good.
Yeah.
But, it is true. I think that the whole Bo-Katan thing that they're bringing in is really giving us a lot of clues as to who Gideon really is. Because, first of all, I think it's funny how we have the child, our beloved baby Yoda, and it's kind of like it started out to be the focus of that. Mm-hmm. And it was actually Werner Herzog's character that I thought was going to be one of the main villains.
Yeah, so did I.
I was really shocked when he was killed off. I'm like, no way.
Mm-hmm.
Well, then who's the guy? And then, of course, they introduce this Gideon guy. And, now I realize that the actor's name is Giancarlo.
Esposito.
Yes, Esposito. I had been actually pronouncing it Giancarlo for like a year and a half. And it's so funny because I was doing this live stream for work and there was this guy that called in that had that spelling and they're like, oh, Giancarlo, how are you doing? And I'm like, oh. Now I'm thinking back to all the episodes that I did, right? And I'm like, oh, man, I look so illiterate right now. But, hey, he's a phenomenal actor. He's been somebody. You know what's funny about him? You remember the movie Desperately Seeking Susan?
Yes.
He was actually the actor when Madonna was walking down the street and he was like, hey, baby, take a paper.
Oh,
that was him.
Okay. All right.
That was him. And it's like, no way, it blew my mind. I went back and I watched the movie. I'm like, this is just so different from what I expected from him. But he's actually been a really big surprise how much I love that character.
Yeah.
I think he's a great character. So
He hasn't been in that many episodes either. So, you
no.
know, um, the last one that I saw last week, he was just a hologram, and then we've only seen him like live in the show, a couple of times. So he's almost getting to be like a horror movie villain where you don't see him that much, and then when he's on the screen, you're just like, oh God, what is he gonna do? he's scary, you know.
Which I
So
think is an
that's
actually
what I
cool
kind of like.
touch.
Yeah, that's
Absolutely.
what I like about that. Yeah,
It's been a while. Like I remember when I first saw The Force Awakens, how I was kind of creeped out by Snoke, especially because he was like, 9 feet tall or whatever with that
right.
hologram.
Hmm.
But even in The Last Jedi, when he kind of had his little Hugh Hefner robe going on, I thought that he looked like pretty creepy and threatening. I thought,
Yeah.
okay, this is a little different.
Hmm.
Ronaldo is basically saying, I remember when someone spoiled me that Luke died in episode 8. I know that pain. It leads to the dark side. Yeah, there's nothing worse than when somebody spoils, especially like a really big moment.
Hmm.
Like me personally, I'll say this. I usually don't mind spoilers. In fact, a lot of times I'll go out of my way to read them. But saying that though, I will say that there's been a couple of times where I've seen a movie and it has like a really crazy twist that I did not see coming.
Hmm.
The enjoyment of that is just immense.
Yeah.
And you're just like, man, I'm so glad nobody spoiled that for me.
Right.
Because I had a feeling that Han Solo was going to die in 7, but I was secretly hoping that that wasn't the case. But then when you saw him facing Kylo on that bridge, you're like, it's true. They're going to kill him
Yeah.
off.
Oh, no.
And that was so painful. But I did not know that he was coming back for Rise of Skywalker.
Oh yeah. Yep.
That was something that I never, in all the spoilers that I was reading, that was never revealed or whatever. And I remember just being like completely, he's like, hey kid or whatever. I thought that was Luke. I thought it was going to be Luke's Force ghost.
Because you hear "Hey kid" and you're just like, oh, that's probably Luke, and then you turn around and it's Han, and it's like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Well, that one,
completely blown away.
yeah. Now, okay, let me ask you this because we haven't actually talked about it. I think you and Daryl have, but do you think that was actually Kylo's memory of Han, or do you think that was Leia projecting herself as Han?
So at first, I thought that it was Leia projecting herself as Han because of the way they set up the scene.
Hmm.
But then it was later confirmed by Lucasfilm that it was just a memory. I thought it would have been cooler, though, if it had been Leia doing it.
I had always thought, because I didn't hear that Lucasfilm confirmed that it was a memory, but the thing that probably a lot of people, I probably fell into that category because after Kylo chucked the lightsaber into the ocean and then turned around and Han was gone, then they cut to Leia and her hand falls.
Right.
That's like,
I mean, that's exactly, that is just so, like, it's gotta be, right? But now me personally, well, I mean, I love the fact that Harrison Ford agreed to do another Star Wars film, which, I mean, it blew my mind. I'm like, I can't believe you got him back to do this. But first of all, I couldn't even believe they got him back for 7.
Mm-hmm.
Because, I mean, he just sounded, he was like one step away from Alec Guinness.
Mm.
Like, he almost hated it, it seemed. But
yeah.
After 7, I thought, okay, they killed off his character, which is probably like, okay, I'll do it, but you have to kill me off. Mm-hmm. But then he agreed to do it again. And I think a lot of that was, I don't know if you saw or not, but the Star Wars Celebration that came out that year, he begrudgingly agreed to do it. And he was so blown away by the fan response, and he saw that it wasn't, what he thought it was, and I guess he had a really good time. So, I guess he warmed back up to Star Wars slightly.
It wasn't all a hokey religion and a laser sword.
But here's the thing that's interesting. I want to get your take on this.
Okay.
I actually think that it should have been Luke's Force Ghost.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think that would have made more sense.
How so?
Well, because, first of all, they kind of set up in The Last Jedi that Luke was going to almost like haunt him. See you around, kid. And he said, see you around, kid. And then in Rise of Skywalker, he says, hey, kid.
Hey, kid, right.
So I thought, okay, this is just him. And it would have been better if he had appeared. I mean, I guess I get the Han Solo thing because what they did was they basically flipped the dialogue around. And it was kind of like they were saying the same thing that they were saying on the bridge at 7, except now it had a different meaning. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like now when he says, I know what I need to do, he was actually talking about leaving the dark and returning to the light.
Yep.
I mean, it was a beautiful moment. And I mean, again, I've said this before, I loved Ben Solo. Like, I was really surprised at how much I was enjoying, hey, Kylo Ren's a good guy now.
Right.
I thought it was hilarious, first of all, when he jumps on that pillar and he's like, ow.
Ow. Right.
I thought that was awesome.
Yeah.
And then he gets a little Han Solo, like, thing when he has to fight the knights.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no. So I actually disagree with you there that it should have been Han Solo. I think they got that right, that it should have been Han Solo.
Well, you're allowed. I mean, this is Duel of the Fates. We're still in this segment.
Yeah. So it's because that, Ben had such a heartfelt relationship with his dad, or wanted to, and to have his dad then come back and kind of set him on the right path. I think that was the way to go. There was a lot of, I think there still was a lot of resentment toward Luke, within Kylo. So, seeing Luke at that moment might have made him mad, and
you're right. You're right.
Gone off and said, oh no, I'm mad.
But
now.
Remember, but you got to remember the context though, because the context of that scene, the whole reason why he was doing this, and I think this is where the Force vision came, when Rey basically healed his wound and just injected him with all this light side energy. Mm-hmm. I think that's ultimately what pushed him. And he started getting those warm and fuzzy light side feelings, and that's probably what triggered his dad's vision.
Yeah. Okay.
But I think that if it had been Luke, it could have maybe been more of a reconciliation. Because now he's feeling more of the light side. His mom's probably filling him full of all this dark side. I mean, he was getting a little overloaded there with light side stuff. So I think that if Luke had come to him and said, hey, listen, I get it. I understand. And they had sort of come to an understanding. And that's the only reason why I think it should have been Luke. I mean, I thought it was a beautiful moment with Han. Don't get me wrong. Mm-hmm. It was just, I think story-wise, because the other thing too is look, Han can't come back as a Force ghost. I mean, is he really so schizo that he's imagining a whole conversation? You know what I mean? It's it's weird. That's why I wish it had been Leia projecting.
Projecting Han or projecting?
Yeah, projecting Han, because that would have made more sense.
Yeah, and that ultimately, that's what made sense to me. That's why I was thinking that. So, but yeah, I can see where you're coming from. I just don't know how, in that moment with, if had the characters been real, I don't know how that would have actually played out,
Well, you're right. That could have brought up a lot of resentment and kind of swung them back to the dark side. I mean, Ronaldo basically says, when I saw Harrison Ford in episode 9, I thought Disney really has a lot of money.
I'm with you there.
I actually think he did it for free.
Really?
I could be wrong.
He was only on there for 2 minutes.
Yeah, he only did because it was like JJ convinced him to come back like, hey, man, I really need you for the story. They could have ended up paying him a bunch of money, but I don't think it was like an insane amount. Now, Force Awakens, that was a lot of money.
Yeah.
He also says, I like Ben's Han Solo memory, but I also wanted him to talk with Luke. And that was the thing. I think I wanted him to get a little bit more closure with Luke.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, you did get the closure with Han, so I guess it all works out in the end. But the important thing is, what do you guys think? Not even about any of this. What do you guys think about Bo-Katan versus Cara Dune? Who do you think is Mando's most trusted ally? Let us know in the comments section. Even though we're moving on, you know the drill.
Head to Head, a Star Wars podcast. Be sure to follow us on Twitter @HeadToHeadSW. Submit your questions for our next show. Visit our official website at headtoheadswpodcast.com. Until next time, may the Force be with you, always.